Story 1. I was taught that it is the right of the people to alter or abolish that form of government. I might have read that somewhere. Story 2. Depends. Do you live in a democracy? Wake up and impeach. Do you live in an autocracy? Remind the few of the universal truth that the people are the ones who rule. Story 3. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Story 4. Vote them out. Help others see the need to do so. Support the party you believe will do the best job getting elected. Story 5. Right now, the elected officials who swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect the citizens have failed. This includes politicians, judges, law enforcement, and the military. Anyone holding office in a city, state, or federal capacity who swore an oath to the Constitution. The foundation of America is that the people control the government. That was the purpose of the Revolutionary War and breaking ties with England. Here we are in the same predicament. A king and his court passing laws and breaking the laws and the Constitution without consequences. Story 6. Depends. Democracy means voting. For anything else, decide if your life is worth losing by causing an uprising or leave. Unfortunately, leaving does not help your country. Story 7. The midterm elections in the United States are in November 2026. Only about 40% of voting-age Americans vote, with significantly fewer participating in the midterm elections. Currently, 21% of eligible voters supported Trump, 20% voted for Harris, and 59% did not vote. The majority's needs do not matter if they do not vote. Everyone will have their chance in November 2026. Story 8. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Declaration of Independence, July 4, 1776. Each of us individually has to come to that decision. Are the current evils sufferable? Right now, many are saying yes, keeping their heads down and protecting their families, hoping that the 2026 elections will turn things around. We will see. When enough of us answer yes, then we will have to decide what that means. The Americans of 1776 had to fight a war for their freedom. Story 9. It is tough to give an exact answer, especially on such a public forum, but it is telling that many people default to jokes about guillotines and revolution. More and more, people are waking up, realizing how bad things are and how bad they can get. Perhaps it is better to tear the bandage off now, or maybe there is still hope for a peaceful solution. Regardless, the social contract between those who lead and those who elect is growing weaker. At a certain point, leaders must realize it is not worth the trouble to keep pushing people, especially when they have less and less to lose. Story 10. The real specific option is to bring new people into the government and hold the ruling class accountable with newcomers. Story 11. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act that may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of kinship. We must, therefore, accept the necessity which declares our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war and friends in peace. Story 12. If you were talking about the current state of America, I do not think much will happen until people are denied their daily needs, whether that is due to the government's incompetence in maintaining supply lines or the inability to afford food and fuel because of catastrophic inflation. When everything is taken away from people, many have nothing left to lose. Story 13. The French invented mass protests and picket lines. The classic era peoples invented the general strike. Roman plebeians, when striking, would leave the city, refuse to work, and let the patricians fend for themselves. Preferably, picket lines should be made at places that cause the maximum amount of disruption in the shortest time possible. It is generally pretty effective at conveying the message. Story 14. United we stand, divided we fall. The reason the government works so hard to keep everyone fighting is that together we can stand up and say no. One person walks out, it hurts the person. A few people walk out, it might slow the company down, but again just hurts the people. When 90% of the people walk out, change happens. We need to be that 90% and realize left and right are saying and wanting the same things. Just because we both have different ideas on how to make it happen does not mean we do not want the same thing. The media shows us these extreme views, but in reality, most people are not extremists. We need to start talking and realize where the real issue lies, and it is not with each other. Story 15. I posted about the 4 boxes of liberty. I will share my experiences with the first 3 boxes. I used the soapbox, and the Dallas Police Department responded with violence. I used the ballot box, but Tarrant County, Dallas County, and Ellis County elections discarded my votes. I used the jury box, but I am no longer called for jury duty. Story 16. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. It is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Story 17. Staying informed is important. Knowing what is really going on beyond the headlines is powerful. When you are informed, it is easier to call out misinformation. You need to speak up loudly and often. This could mean organizing or joining protests, signing petitions, or contacting your representatives with emails and calls. It can feel pointless sometimes, but a flood of pressure can actually create change. Story 18. More people need to wake up to what our government is doing and to the gravity of the situation. Talking to my coworkers, it is clear most people are not paying much attention or are burying their heads in the sand, pretending the new dictatorship is not a big deal. Maybe when the horrifying results of the administration's actions start to ruin lives, people will actually want to do something. Americans are used to ignoring politics and think they can keep that up forever. Waking people up is important right now. Story 19. Part of it is community outreach and togetherness, finding ways to meet each other's needs locally or unite under a common cause. As an American, I feel that we spend too much time, rightfully, complaining and being afraid, but not enough time building each other up. Story 20. Resist in whatever way you can. Attend protests and disrupt town hall meetings for these politicians. Think of people like Harriet Tubman who escaped slavery and helped others escape at great personal risk. Story 21. Apparently, vote them back into office and support them more strongly when situations deteriorate further. Story 22. If you live in a democracy, vote them out. If you do not live in a democracy, you probably cry, I guess. Story 23. Vote out your congressman. Vote in an independent who votes for what you want, not what all his friends in that group want. Story 24. People need to be very mindful of who they put in Congress. It is safe to say the majority of our congressmen and congresswomen have failed us. Anyone who voted for the Build Back Better plan failed us, regardless of party affiliation. Story 25. Definitely spam AskReddit with duplicate questions daily, as karma will be the new currency after the revolution. Story 26. Become the gremlin. Sugar in the cement. Grow what food you can. Help a neighbor as you can, however you can. Read more books. Make the art you can. Story 27. Keep speaking out against them. Keep protesting. Put signs up on your lawn. Let people know they are not alone. Vote them out every chance you get. Volunteer to help those you believe can do a good job. Vote with your wallet too. If a media outlet compromises its integrity, unsubscribe. Support media that presents facts and evidence like the news of old. Create a zine and distribute it. Get t-shirts printed. Every time you see Make America Great Again or Trump on a sign, poster, bumper sticker, or anywhere, find the message you support and do the same. No kings. No human is illegal. Do not let your voice fade. Be louder than their speeches. Story 28. You first have to determine if the majority wants the same thing as you. If so, then voting will help achieve that. You also need to conduct independent research to find out if what you want is actually the right thing for everyone. Sometimes people have opinions, not facts. Just because you believe in something does not make it factual. Story 29. I'll just put this here. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Story 30. I do not know. Check out South Africa. They literally stole 1 trillion rand recently, which is about 60 billion US dollars, despite all the money being electronically traceable. Somehow, no one does anything. Our highest tax bracket is over 55%, so they have plenty of money. This does not even mention the world's largest untapped uranium deposits, which they are too ignorant to use. Story 31. We have never figured out the answer because public opinion has no discernible influence on public policies. Story 32. Probably you need to consider the country you live in. There are countries where you cannot do anything. Story 33. Cancel their free trial of leadership, remove their names from the public records permanently, and then hand them over to the people they have wronged. Story 34. Here is how it is going to end. After the military-industrial complex bankrupts America, the chief executive officers will sell what is left to the Chinese or send tax money to the Cayman Islands. Story 35. Time to find out if all those extensive beauty and skincare products the wealthy use have done an adequate job of enhancing them. Story 36. Funny you should ask. We are all trying to figure that out here in the United States of America. If anyone comes up with an effective answer, let us know. Story 37. The issue is that they keep getting voted in, so they are being represented by the people. The people are uneducated, hateful bigots, and are happy to be swindled. Story 38. First, make sure your needs reflect the majority opinion and not a loud internet minority. The prevailing opinions of Reddit users are not always popular among the wider population, and then people are surprised when their preferred candidate loses in the primaries. Story 39. The thing the founders feared more than a king was democracy, which is why we have the Constitution that we do. Some things are just out of reach of the majority and popular whims. I shudder to think of all the things the majority would vote for. We have a perfectly good way to change almost everything that needs changing. It is not the system's fault that we do not use it. Story 40. Depends. Typically, social media does not represent the majority, so it is critical to ensure that it truly reflects the majority. In a democracy, it would likely start with government representation and working with them. Story 41. If you are the ruling class, I hear that race and class warfare is very effective. Add memes of, "It is futile to rock the boat," on blast from owned media sources, followed by cults of celebrity and scandal to distract the masses. Story 42. If the government is not meeting people's needs, it is up to the people to take action. They can come together to meet these needs directly or unite to change the system through reform or new institutions. Whatever injustice concerns you most, there is likely a group of people currently working to address it. They could use your participation in the form of your time, money, or voice. Chances are they have been engaged in this effort for some time. Story 43. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Story 44. Be louder, be an irritant, be a roadblock to everything they want to do, but avoid violence. Because unless you are prepared to overthrow the government, which is a bad idea, there is no point to violence. It is just noise and danger for no reason. Story 45. Educate and protest. If your efforts to educate and protest result in imprisonment, that adds fuel to the fire. There is no risk-free way to replace an unresponsive government. The tree of liberty is nourished by the blood of martyrs. One thing to do before you get started is to make sure you actually represent a majority. Another is to ensure that satisfying these alleged needs does not require actions that cannot be ethically justified. Story 46. Quit supporting tyrants and quit supporting the supporters of tyrants. Maybe even do them a bad turn once in a while if you are feeling bold. That is probably the easiest thing. When somebody else is ready to stick their neck out, do not help the bad guys when they come to step on it. Story 47. Above all, vote them out at the next opportunity you get. But in the meantime, find ways to resist. And I am not talking about useless and ineffective protests. Find ways to cost the government money or slow down progress on projects they are working on. Apply for all benefits that you might qualify for. A little malicious compliance can go a long way, so hold the government to all regulations that they have to meet, and publicize every violation that you can find. Story 48. Honestly, just voting is not enough anymore. People need to organize, protest, and push for real accountability. It is unfortunate, but pressure is the only language some of them understand. Story 49. The Declaration of Independence states that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Story 50. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume, among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right and duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Some person a long time ago said that those words mean something. Story 51. First things first. You need to develop parallel structures to the government, community organizations, workers' unions, tenant unions, and community gardens. That is how you get people behind the effort to make change, by meeting their needs. If you are lucky, you will be able to meet your community's needs even if the government is ineffectual. If you are unlucky, you will be removed for being a thorn in the side of those with money and power. Story 52. Invent a time machine and vote last November. The next best thing to do is to fight misinformation and disinformation whenever and wherever you find it. And vote again if they will let you. Story 53. 1. Join the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Cash $50,000 check program and get loans forgiven. 2. Act excited to be there. 3. Learn about simple sabotage and help save people from being deported without due process. 4. Find reasonable candidates. This could take a while. 5. Vote. It is either this or revolution. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.